Now, what killed the Eagles last year and really put Gannon behind the buck is his inability to stop productive first downs by offenses. Offenses were averaging like 5 to 6 yards on first down. You're automatically behind the sticks then, because if you have to stop a team on 2nd and 4 or 3rd and 2, I mean, that's like throwing an alley-oop. That's a slam dunk. It's just too easy to run your offenses because your playbook and when you're 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10, it goes down like this. But when you have 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, now you have a lot more plays you can run to get that first down.
What up, everybody? Hour number 3 of the program. We are Sports Take. Join us each and every Monday through Friday, 12 to 3 Eastern, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. He's Derek Gunn. He's Barrett Brooks. I am Rob Ellis. I enjoy, and I mean this sincerely, looking at the debates in the comment section, with people just kind of jumping on some of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of the AFC. People stating their cases and why one team's going to be good and, guys to watch and all that kind of stuff. It's very cool. I love it. So keep up the good work, everybody in the comment section. All right. Barry, we were talking about this in our pre-show meeting that we do each and every day. And you brought up the Eagles defensive line and just some of the observations, some of the stuff that you saw on Wednesday when you were out there and how you think, this thing may be utilized. We were talking about with EJ Smith a little bit earlier, and we've talked about this quite a bit too. The usage of how these guys how you're going to incorporate them in odd fronts, even fronts, 5-man front, 3-man front, sometimes 4-man front. How do you think this kind of plays out in terms of depth and who could be in for a rude awakening in terms of playing time, et cetera?
I mean, it's perfect for the defensive line that Gannon wants. He wants a line that's going to be, he wants a front that you can play all 3 types of front. You got a 50 front, 30 front, and 40 front.
Explain what that means to people.
And that just means 5 defensive linemen is the 50 front, 30 front is 3 defensive linemen. And that just means, it really depends on where you line your guys up. A 50 front, meaning that's usually what we call a bear front or Navajo front. That means the center is covered by a defensive lineman, a nose guard, and the 2 tackles are on the guards. That makes it hard for you to go up and get linebackers because there's nowhere it's usually the defensive tackles, the offensive guards that go get the linebackers. But, in a 50 front, all those guys are covered. And then on the outside over your tackles, as far as rush ends or rush linebackers, you can consider them either you can have a defensive lineman or a defensive end or a linebacker defensive end on the outside. So that's 5 defensive linemen. Now, what killed the Eagles last year and really put Gannon behind the buck is his inability to stop productive first downs by offenses. Offenses were averaging like 5 to 6 yards on first down. You're automatically behind the sticks then, because if you have to stop a team on 2nd and 4 or 3rd and 2, I mean, that's like throwing an alley-oop. That's a slam dunk. It's just too easy to run your offenses because your playbook and when you're 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10 and 3rd and 10, it goes down like this. But when you have 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 4, now you have a lot more plays you can run to get that first down. So that was the biggest issue this Eagles defense had last year, was their inability to stop offenses on first down from being successful. With a 50 front and a 30 front, you're less apt to do that because now, number one, you usually have better athletes on the field. You got rush ends that are linebacker-esque. Then you have 2 linebackers lined up over the top of you. There's more people in the box. And you got the big guys sitting right there in the middle, in the interior of that defense, and you can't just run up the middle like they were last year. And that's a lot of the problem that, a guy like Fletcher Cox had, because he wanted to get up the field and make plays and one-gap things, and you can't do that if you have a defense in which you want to keep the linebackers clean so they can make plays. So when Fletcher jumped up the field, it created a chasm between his gap and the guy next to him's gap, and they were just running through those gaps. So now that Fletch understands what the directive of the defense, what the directive is, I got to stay in my gap. I got to press the issue, make sure I'm keeping these linebackers clean. Now these guys can go out there and make plays. Now they're more apt to go out there and make plays. So, it's going to lead to guys playing fresher because now you can rotate guys. They have a lot of guys that can play, a lot of guys that are good. I mean, you guys were talking about Milton Williams a lot. He could virtually play 30 snaps a game with Fletcher Cox playing 30 snaps a game, with Javon Hargrave playing 30 snaps a game, with Brandon Graham playing 30 snaps a game. If you're only playing that many snaps a game, that means you can maximize your effort on every single play. You can go all out on every single play, knowing that you're not going to be in for a lot of the time in the game.
Especially in the fourth quarter.
Exactly. You're going to be fresher going into the fourth quarter because you didn't have to go out there and play the entire game. It's not like you're going out there and averaging 50, 60 plays a game. Now you only get 30.
Barrett, how effective do you think Fletcher Cox is going to be this year?
If they go by what I think they're going to do and play him play him sparingly, well, not necessarily sparingly, but play him in a rotation, he can be very effective. I mean, you can come in on first down, go in there, make a play. Now it's 2nd and 10. And then he might go off the field. They bring in Milton Williams on 2nd and 10. Then now you got 3rd and 8. When you got 3rd and 8, you bring Fletcher Cox back in, line him up next to Brandon Graham, who, by the way, is going to get about 20 snaps a game. So imagine how fresh he's going to be, but only playing 20 snaps a game. Now he's rushing in their NASCAR package. Now you have Hassan Reddick on one side. On the other side, you got Brandon Graham, or you could kick Brandon Graham in and have him play the 3 technique. You could put Sweat outside, or you could put Derek Barnett on the outside. Then you have, Hargraves sitting in there sometimes. I mean, you could just run so many different multiple fronts that it'll be hard to really block it. And also hard for an offensive line because you don't know what they're going to bring out there. They might bring out there, you look and you see, all right, they got 5 defensive linemen out here. Well, it's not 5 defensive linemen because you got a linebacker in Hassan Reddick, that's going to become a lineman. And, it's just hard for, to get a beat on what they're trying to do to you as an offensive lineman. So your calls are going to be kind of messed up because you don't know who to block because you don't know what position they're playing at that point. They might bring in Hassan Reddick thinking he's a defensive end, and all of a sudden they drop him, put him over the tight end, bring out the tackle, and now he's hit up over there. Now they have an over front, which is a basic 40 front, a 4 down front with 3 linebackers in there. It's hard to pick up those type of things when you get a beat on what the defensive coordinator is doing against you when you're an offensive lineman, trying to make your calls and make, specific guys you want to trade. Like, all right, you want to go in, all right, who was it? Seven's the Mike. That's Hassan Reddick. Seven's the right Mike. Then all of a sudden he moves out on the outside and plays defensive end. You slide that defensive end all the way down to the 3 technique. Now it's a 50 front. A 50 front, your rules are totally different from a 40 front. They're totally different from a 30 front because now you got to block 5 on 5. The 5 defensive linemen, the 5 guys on the line, and now those linebackers are basically free. If a running back's not picking them up, they're usually hot, and you can generate a lot of pressure with those type of fronts.
All right, I love this, okay? I love hearing this. I love the fresh bullets that you keep firing, all of this. I love it. Let me play devil's advocate. Is there any disadvantage? I don't mean completely overworking somebody, but to being out there and working up that lather and being in a rhythm, being yanked all the time. Is there a downside to that?
There is a downside because some guys, that's how they play. They want, just like you get a running back, he doesn't get better till after his 20th carry. After his 20th carry, now he's breaking runs, breaking runs. You get those type of instances where you got a guy that wants to rush back. Like BG, I see BG as one of those type of guys. Brandon gets better as the game goes on when he's rushing the pass because now he's getting a beat on what his guy is doing to him. Now he can counter those things that he's been he knows this guy can't block. So he gets better as the reps go more, because he's steady picking you apart on what he does best and what you don't do best, and he can really analyze what you're doing, so you can really take advantage of his shortcomings, because you know what his shortcomings are. When you're going off the field every other play, you really don't get a bead on what he's doing. But you got guys that they're specialists. A guy can go out there and just rush the pass. That's all I want you to do, to rush the pass. And Fletcher Cox could be that guy. That's all. Fletcher, all I want you to do is get out there, get in your three-point stance, get up the field, create havoc. He can do that all day. But then you got a guy like Jordan Davis. He want to put him right up over the nose and tell him, you just take this center and you just kick his ass all game.
Right.
That's all I want you to do.
Yeah, let everybody else, make the play.
Exactly. So if he's doing that, they're going to say, all right, hey, man, I need somebody to help me. So now you got two people blocking Jordan Davis. That means that linebacker's free. In all these different scenarios that can be run, depending on what personnel package you have out there. And I know they're doing it because when I'm at practice, I see the way they break groups up. It used to be last year that the defensive line were all together. That means defensive ends, defensive tackles, nose guard, all those guys in one position. When I watched practice the other day, the rush ends, the defensive ends, and the rush linebackers, the Hassan Reddick, both of the Johnsons, Matt Leo, who's going to be a pretty good player too. Remember I said that name, Matt Leo. Even though he has a nasty number, it's number 66. That's a nasty number.
That was Bill Berge, man. Berge back in the day.
No, Berge could get away with it. You know what I'm saying? He was a tough SOB, but he's going to have to switch that up.
You don't see a lot of linebackers are wearing 66 anymore.
Right. But you see those guys in the same group. Like Brandon Graham and Hassan Reddick were in the same group. You know what I'm saying? They were in the same group. So that means, that to me, that indicates there's going to be a lot of 50 fronts and 30 fronts because of those guys are in the same group, because you're grouping them as defensive end / linebacker-esque type of players. So it just gives you a lot more versatility in how you do things. And they're doing drills to try to get them used to being out there on an edge, and a linebacker type of scenario when he may drop, or a rushing scenario where he has to, get up the field and create pressure, and his responsibility on stopping the run, because they still got to stop the run also.
Man, when I hear you, and look, that's in addition to the moves that they made, but when I hear you talk like that, I can't wait to see this defense. I wonder, I just hope Gannon's up to all of this. Like it feels like you need a real savant / genius to be able to pull this off. I don't know. This sounds that potentially, man, they have more versatility than almost any defensive front in football.
Well, they do. They do, but you have to be able to execute it. You got to find guys that fit in there also. If you don't have guys that fit in, what you're trying to do is all for naught. See, it's crazy because, when you look at Hargrave, Javon Hargrave came from a 3-4 system. He was a 3-down guy. He came from a 30 front. That's what the Steelers are. He played the nose. Even though he was a small nose, he played nose guard, head up on the center. So he's used to playing in that capacity. That's why he just started, the ending part of the year before, and then last year that he came into his own as far as being a really good guy, in that system. He was probably the best defensive lineman we had last year as far as, penetrating and rushing the passer. He was basically that guy. He was that dude. But, he can't play that nose position. Fletcher's never played that position. Fletcher's more so a guy that's going to be on a 3 technique, getting up the field, eating up blockers, creating havoc. That's what he is. That's what he's been doing his entire career. BG played that because remember he had Bradley here with Chip.
Mm-hmm.
He had to play that linebacker position, so he understands a little bit on how to play the linebacker position. It's just like riding a bike. He can play the linebacker position / defensive end, so he'll be straight. So there's so many different scenarios in which guys have played in this system before that they're going to transition, pretty seamlessly. But the good thing is Fletch will be only playing a limited amount of time. And when he's in there, I can totally see him maximize his potential and getting up and creating havoc whenever he gets an opportunity to be in the game.
Unless Howie gets the mindset, we're paying Fletcher $14 million. We got to get our money's worth out of him. You know, and you know, the last couple of years we've heard the stories about when Doug Peterson was here about how he had final say in the 53-man roster. I hope Howie stays away from this and let the coaches do what they're being paid to do, and let them come up with the schemes, let them come up with what's the best in certain situations, and just worry about the money aspect of what this team is supposed to be and what you're trying to do to help enhance the product. Let the coaches coach. I think if Howie gets more involved in the decision-making process, it could have messed the whole thing up.
You know what, Derek? That's fair. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's making $14 million a year. Is he going to play 28% of the snaps? I don't know. I'm just throwing a random number out there. I do wonder about that if that doesn't come into play. I hope he's not overlording like that. Like, I really hope he's not. You know, Howie's not saying to Jonathan Gannon, "Come on, man! Like, he only got X amount of snaps." You know, it's got to be game by game where you figure this thing out. Look, they're paying Derek Barnett a decent amount. Whatever.
Where does he fit?
Yeah, where does he fit? Exactly. I mean, I don't know. How are you going to try and justify Jordan Davis more than you normally would? Because, you know, he's a first-round pick. All these are fair questions to ask.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's a good thing you built. It looks like a diversified defensive line with a lot of depth where you could do a lot of different things with these guys. Absolutely. But also, how much does the political stuff, for lack of a better word, come into play?
Well, it always comes into play, man. You know, you're paying a guy, you want to get your money's worth. You know, you want to get that. Hey, man, you're not doing enough. I need you to go out there and you know, I mean, and that's the nature of, you know, how things go in the NFL.
Yeah, no question about it.
How it goes.
Yeah. All right. So let's step aside, and when we come back, we'll get our movie review caps on, Barrett. We'll do that with Jurassic World, and I'll give you Hustle, the Adam Sandler Netflix movie. I looked at that. I watched that last night. We'll dive into that. LeBron wants to be an owner. We'll touch on that, and a little news coming down from the Commanders.
Oh yeah,
as well, based on some of the stuff we've spoken about this week with Jack Del Rio. So we'll update you on that as well. Don't go anywhere. Barrett Brooks, Derek Gunn, Rob Ellis. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network.